Alright, it's your boy Zxous, and we're back with another Goddess of Victory Nikke video. Now, we're going to be talking about ROSANNA here, and if you should summon for her or not. Now, this girl is a good and bad character. She's only meant for PvP, literally. So, if you don't do PvP, then the answer is no. You should not summon. If you want the short answer right now, the answer is still no. You should not summon. But let's talk about her, because she is quite useful, in my opinion. Now, she has some uses and a lot of she's useless and useful at the same time. So let's talk about it. Right, so her first skill activates after landing 100 normal attacks, right? She gives herself concealment, which prevents her from being attacked of single target attacks for 10 seconds. And she loses this when they use the AoE attack. And then her crit rate is also increased by damn near 20%. Right, now this is pretty good because of how her kit works. You actually do not want her getting attacked at all, just because if you look at her second skill real quick and we jump to that second part of her second skill, she gets an attack buff called Frenzy that stacks up to 10 times for every Nikke that dies on the battlefield, whether it's on your team or their team. So her not dying, which she's really not going to with the first skill, is going to be quite good. So let's go back to the first skill. Now this part right here is a quite useful skill actually, if people don't understand. Activates after landing 10 normal attacks. Affects 2 enemy units with the highest attack. Dispels 5 buffs, activates 1 time per battle. The reason why this is good is because it literally counters Zxous, this part right here. Right, enter battle, affects self and 2 ally units with the highest attack. Right, increases their defense by 120 seconds and sheer damage taken for 120 seconds. It just removes this, right? It's a very good part. This second part of her first skill is very good to remove Zxous' jumping flash or whatever, right? It's a very, very good way to counter this skill, right? And other characters as well, who just like Noir, for example, who gives all allies an attack buff, or other PvP characters like that, right? It's very good against those allies who will have those buffs first off, right? This stops Zxous' 2 allies, and this is usually going to like Scarlet, Modernia, and stuff like that. So that really stop them with this girl is quite good. Right, it's quite good. But that's really the only pro I see with her, if you want me to be completely honest with you. The second skill, when entering a battle, she already has concealment, but it lasts for 5 seconds, which is not bad. Because you definitely don't want her getting one tapped first off, right? You definitely don't want that, so that's fine. And then again, activates when Nikke is out of action, affects self. Attack increases by 22.61%, stacks up to 10 times and lasts for 30 seconds, and fills burst gauge by 36.54%. I assume when a Nikke dies, it fills up their burst gauge, right? Now this is, we know it's for like your enemy or your allies and the enemies, because it says stacks up to 10 times. If it was for only your team, there's no way it would say 10 times, because even a character who can revive, it wouldn't last 30 seconds. Revive characters have a 60-second cooldown. It would not make sense. So it's definitely for your team and their team, right? Now, in a one-on-one situation with a second skill like that, in a one-on-one situation where it's her against somebody else, she most likely will be very good and she will come in clutch. She will win, right? Because she's gonna have a massive attack buff. And then again, when your burst gauge dies, or when your Nikke dies, your burst gauge fails. Now, the problem with this girl, if we look at her burst skill, is that she only deals damage to 2 attacker enemies. Oh my god. Yo, that is horrendous. That has to be the stupidest thing you could have done for a burst skill. Affects 2 attacker enemies. You know what that means? And definitely let me know in the comments, because I'm not 1000% sure here. But when I read this, I believe that means she does not have a burst skill outside of PvP. Because Rapture enemies are not attacker enemies. I don't think so, right? Definitely let me know if they are or not. I'm not sure of that. But if you are in a one-on-one situation, for example, let me give you guys an analogy or an example here. Let's say it's my ROSANNA versus a Jackal who's a defender, right? And I have my burst skill and I can win with my burst skill and I use it. Is it just not going to do damage to Jackal because she's not an attacker? Most likely. Oh my god, it's actually horrendous, bro. It's actually horrendous. It's actually quite bad, if you want me to be honest with you, because she basically has no burst skill. Not really the greatest. Not really the greatest. But it is quite useful if you do get her burst gauge off first, because it's going to handle the attacker enemies, right? Usually in PvP, when you get rid of the attacker enemies, you kind of just win, even though healers and defenders are the more important characters in PvP. Attackers, if you don't have an attacker and we have an attacker, we're going to win, most likely, right? So this character is a bit iffy, in my honest opinion. I think she's a bit iffy. Highly recommend to skip. Right, but again, she has like use, right? This buff skill, the remove 5 buffs for 2 enemies with the highest attack, is good against characters like Zxous, because this buff right here is the most annoying thing in PvP. This right here is what makes Zxous very, very good, right? Obviously, this is a very good effect as well, the skill 1, but this right here, the jump in Zxous flash, is what makes Zxous very annoying in PvP. Sheer damage taken for the whole game, basically, and increased defense for the whole game. This gets removed from your 2 allies with the highest attack on their team, or the 2 enemies with the highest attack on their team, right? It's quite useful. And then, like I said, again, characters like Noir, for example, if you use Noir in PvP for that attack buff right away, right? Let me remove Zxous. Right, for the characters who start the game off with buffs, right? If you look at Noir, she starts the game off with an attack buff as well. This gets removed, right, from all those allies or enemies as well, those 2 enemies as well. So it is quite useful there in that sense, but that's not a good enough reason to summon for her whatsoever. She literally will not work anywhere else, because her second skill requires allies to be dead. Why are you gonna want your allies dead in a PvE scene, right? In PvP, that makes sense, right? You don't want them dead in PvP, but in PvP, like when they die, she gets stronger, that's okay. But in a general, like, PvE sense, if I'm fighting a boss, no matter how much attack buff I'm getting, if she's the only one on the team, we're not winning, right? So it just doesn't really make sense, right? Because you got to remember, all these skills work outside of PvP, right? But there's no question it's towards PvP, right? Nikke's out of action. Why would I want my allies dead in PvE? 2 attacker enemies. I don't even think raptures count as attacker allies or enemies, right? So she just doesn't have a burst skill outside of PvP. It's as simple as that. Activate after landing 10 normal attacks. Like, as a machine gun character, that is the fastest thing ever. Chat, that is, like, let me actually show you. I have Nikke open, like, because I want to make sure. But if we redo this, just look at Modernia. Look at Modernia. She's a machine gun user. Look how fast 10 bullets go by. It's literally like a second or 2. Look. Wait, it's coming down. Look how fast that's going down. You see how fast that went from 740 to like 690 before she used her burst skill? It's quite bad. It's a quite bad. It's right. It would have been better if it was like 110 or something, like a bigger amount, so that people like Scarlet or people like these people who stack up their buffs have a chance for it to be removed. But to just dispel 5 buffs right away, it's only going to be useful against characters like Zxous and any enemies who just put a buff at the beginning of the battle. So overall, this girl is, like I said, the worst character to have gotten a banner in Nikke history. There's no question. Nobody is worse than this girl, because not only is she only a PvP character, but she's not a great PvP character. So I mean, Zxous was like I said, Zxous was a PvP character as well, but she's the best PvP character. It's different for her. For this girl to be a PvP character only, this burst skill has to be like, it's really just so dumb. Please let me know in the comments. Does that burst skill not work against Raptors? Oh, if it just doesn't work. And then if you're fighting a team that has no attackers anymore and you are about to win, and then you lose because you cannot use your burst skill, it's just gonna be so funny. But she's hot. They're not gonna make money off this unless, like, you know, us. I'm gonna spend because she's hot. She makes my knees weak. She makes my knees weak. But yeah, bro, I don't know, bro. This is the biggest skip of like everybody's life. Frito plays. Don't even ask me if you should summon. Even if she gets on wishlist, don't even worry about it. You're not putting this character on your wishlist unless you're a collector. Point blank, period. I'll see you guys in the next one. Do not summon for this character whatsoever. But if you do plan on summoning, I'll make up before you summon as well. For the people who just do not want to listen to me in the should you summon. But yeah, I'm your boy Zxous. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.